Satanism light. It's like a public version of it if you look at the rituals. The people who worship the gods of the major religions are worshiping these entities under different names. But they all call them God, but they're actually these entities. We'll come more to that as we go along. And that's why you see this universal religion. There's virgin mothers and babies all over the frickin' world. I mean, where do you look? It's like a franchise. All over. And yet Christianity picks it up. It's the one. It's not. It's just another one of the ancient religion. I mean, this is Satanism light, when they're eating the body of Christ as a frickin' biscuit and drinking his blood as a bottle of Merlot. I mean, frickin' hell. But it's what they do in reality in Satanism. It's Satanism light. What a bloody image on which to base a religion. What is that going to do to you, focusing on that? That's sacrifice. There's an inverted pentagram from a major clergyman in the bloody Church of England. And all religion to me is a form of bloody madness, because it's so squeezing the perception of possibility that you only need what it says between these two covers to understand the frigging world, even though you don't even understand the frigging book. And so, boom, all that's gone. You can't think that, you won't be one of us. Bloody good. And then you got people kind of going through this every year because Jesus did. And because some mate of bloody Mohammed was cut up hundreds of years ago, they do it on the day it's supposed to have happened every year. It's freaking insanity. Religion summed up. Eskimo. If I didn't know about God and sin, would I go to hell? Priest. No, not if you didn't know. Well, why did you tell me? I mean, that's it, isn't it? Did I say the world was mad? I might have mentioned it. Religion, you couldn't make it up. Oh, sorry, they did. They did. They did. Yes, look, he's going away to condemn gay marriage. Look, you know what I mean? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And look where these major religions came from. These major points that I told you the bloodlines came out of. When you look at Sumer, Babylon, Egypt, out of there came Judaism, came Christianity, came Islam, came many other of these sub-religions. And as this guy said, Robert Ingersoll, there can be but little liberty on earth while men worship a tyrant in heaven. The question is, given the Gnostic writings and the other information from cultures galore, what is the nature of that tyrant in so-called heaven? Now, into this mix comes this. I said earlier that when I investigate people in power, invariably, not all the time, but invariably, you come over secret societies, Satanism, and pedophilia. There's a reason for that, and it fits into what I'm talking about. In 1998, I put this book out, The Biggest Secret, which exposed former Prime Minister Ted Heath as a Satanist, child-killing, child-sacrificing, child-torturing pedophile. And Lord McAlpine, too. Nobody said anything. A journalist read the passage to Ted Heath days after it was published. Nothing happened. Why? Because it was true. And when Lord McAlpine was suing all and sundry for not naming him, hundreds of thousands of pounds for BBC, didn't name him. Hundreds of thousands of pounds, ITV, didn't name him. Goes for the speaker's wife. Goes for some comedian on the friggin' Twitter. In my book, I said what he was. And on my website, again, while he's suing all and sundry for not naming him. And now it's blowing fricking open, and they are desperately trying to put the lid on. Pedophilia is absolutely infesting the establishment at multiple levels, right to what they allege is the top, for reasons I'll come to. All over the world is the same. The number of children being abused by the rich and famous, never mind others, is absolutely staggering, and there's a reason for it. The scale of child abuse worldwide, shocking beyond belief. Yes, this is the question. We need to keep asking about everything. Why? Then you might find answers. Why is Satanism and pedophilia so interrelated and interconnected? Well, this is a Central American shaman, Don Juan Matos, who said this about entities, the archons that he called the flyers, describe him in the same way, feeding off the energy of children. Sorcerers, people who can see beyond the physical, see infant human beings as strange luminous balls of energy, covered from top to bottom with a glowing coat, something like a coat of plastic adjusted tightly around the cocoon of energy. The glowing coat of awareness is what the predators consume, and when a human reached adulthood, all that is left of that fringe awareness is a narrow fringe that goes from the ground to the top of the toes. That fringe permits mankind to keep living, but only barely. What they are after is the energy of children before puberty. We see puberty as a hormonal chemical change. That is merely a holographic expression of an energetic change in the waveform information field. They want that energy before that change takes place. And so these pedophiles are possessed by these entities that stimulate the desire for sex with children. And while it's happening, they are, through the vehicle of the pedophile, drawing off the child's energy. And the reason that you have so many pedophiles in the upper echelons of society, he said advisedly, is because they are the bloodlines, the dual DNA bloodlines, most possessible, most possessed, and therefore the best vehicles for feeding off children by these entities. That Australian Satanist said this in that document: politicians are introduced by a carefully graded set of criteria and situations that enable them to accept that their victims will be our little secret. Young children sexually molested and physically abused by politicians worldwide are quickly used as sacrifices. In Australia, the bodies are hardly ever discovered, for Australia is still a wilderness. And this is what is going on. This is what Ted Heath was doing. And this is why this guy got away with it all those decades. He was supplying children to the rich and famous, and if he went down, they all went down. That's why he was never prosecuted, even though they knew what he was doing. He is a doorway to the cesspit because he was the doorway to so many of the rich and famous, the archontic hybrid bloodlines that were feeding off the energy of children thanks to him. Daily Express, Jimmy Savile was part of a satanic ring, stands back in amazement. Of course, because they're interrelated. Knighthood from the Queen, she didn't bloody know. Come to that in a minute. Knighthood from the Pope, no need for amazement. Roman Catholic Church, and I tell you what, the reason he became the first Pope in 600 years to resign in office will be shown eventually to be related to this subject, among others. So, we've got all these kind of pedophiles, famous pedophiles. Thomas Hamilton, the guy who killed all those kids in Dunblane, he was a pedophile and supplier of children to the rich and famous in Scotland. Ted Heath, I talked about. George Bush, I've come to him. Kissinger. And this man, Lord Mountbatten, member of the royal family, of course, inner royal family, was a known pedophile. And who did Jimmy Savile say publicly, not in this context of course, introduced him into the inner circle of the royal family in the 1960s? Lord Mountbatten, the mentor of Prince Charles and Prince Philip. And close to the royal family ever since, decade after decade after decade. The frickin' Yorkshire police knew what he was doing. They didn't bloody know. Are you having a laugh? When are these bloody police officers going to get their asses in gear and start knocking on Buckingham Palace? Why was record-breaking paedophile and child procurer Savile an inner circle royal buddy for decades? I knew about him in 1998 when a close friend of Diana for 9 years before they fell out, called Christine Fitzgerald, told me all about him and his necrophilia, sex with dead bodies, this universal religion. There's virgin mothers and babies all over the frickin' world. I mean, where do you look? It's like a franchise. All over. And yet Christianity picks it up. It's the one. It's not. It's just another one of the ancient religion. I mean, this is Satanism light, when they're squeezing the perception of possibility that you only need what it says between these two covers to understand the friggin' world, even though you don't even understand the friggin' book. And so, boom, all that's gone. You can't think that. You won't be one of us. Satanism light. It's like a public version of it if you look at the rituals. The people who worship the gods of the major religions are worshiping these entities under different names. But they all call them God, but they're actually these entities. We'll come more to that as we go along. And that's why you see there's an inverted pentagram from a major clergyman in the bloody Church of England. And all religion to me is a form of bloody madness, because it's eating the body of Christ as a frickin' biscuit and drinking his blood as a bottle of Merlot. I mean, frickin' hell. But it's what they do in reality in Satanism. It's Satanism light. What a bloody image on which to base a religion. What is that going to do to you, focusing on that? That's sacrifice.